This segment of News on 6, sponsored by Robison Air.
It's Money Monday, a segment here at 4 o'clock where we talk about easy-to-understand ways to navigate our finances. Here to help us out is financial expert Paul Hood from Hood CPAs. Paul, welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's go ahead and get started today. Our first question comes from Ron. Ron says, a question that's probably in a lot of minds. I know inflation is slowly coming down. Will we ever see lower prices, or is this the new normal?
So, Ron, I need to pull my crystal ball out, because who knows? Typically what goes up comes down, what goes down comes back up. So things will normal out. That when the government interferes, whether it's printing money or their economic policies, typically they mess things up in a free enterprise system. And so I think a lot of it stems on what they're going to do. The economy is actually pretty strong. It's just they've thrown so much money into the economy, it's devalued our dollar and everything is more expensive.
Okay. Our next question comes from Beth. Beth says, my husband passed and I do not have a trust. How should my house and cars be titled to avoid probate after the death of a spouse? All the other assets are IRAs and TOD accounts.
So Beth, well, first off, make sure everybody knows what a TOD account is. A TOD is a transfer on death. Sometimes it's called POD, payable on death. So if you have a piece of paper that says where an asset goes at death, you escape probate. So if something is owned joint for a right of survivorship, if something has a POD, a payable on death, a TOD, a transfer on death, or has a beneficiary designation like an IRA, it circumvents probate. So if you've got a car, you can go down to the state and have a transfer on death, TOD. So it's your death, they go down and they just transfer the title into whoever's name's on there. A court doesn't have to get involved. Your home, same thing. It can either be joint right of survivorship or it can be a TOD, a transfer on death. Now, sometimes she probably ought to consider having a trust. A trust will allow her to control her assets from the grave and have more. Unearned wealth is always a negative thing. So if you've got kids, it's usually not good to hand them a big pot of money. It's usually good to control it.
Okay, and then our last question today comes from Joe. And Joe says, I sold my lake home for $315,000 and it was not my primary residence. I purchased the land in the 80s, built the home and paid for improvements. I don't know how much I paid in improvements, so can I estimate it to determine the cost basis?
So yeah, you have to. I guess he doesn't have to. He can voluntarily pay extra taxes, but who wants to do that? So yeah, he should go back and have very detailed notes, walk around the property. When did you do that? You have a pool, your driveway, new roof, all those kind of things, and then estimate what those costs. And you want to be fair, but don't forget things, because the IRS typically it's more of a perception thing. If they think you're trying to get one over on them, then they're going to look closer. If you are using a reasonable methodology and this is how I came up to those numbers, then do it. But he definitely shouldn't voluntarily just pay extra taxes.
Good advice. All right, if you have a question that we would like us to ask Paul next week, you can send them to us at Money Monday at griffin.news. Tatum, over to you.